First of all, good afternoon, and I want to thank you all for attending our webinar today. We have a great line of speakers for you. Micheal Smith, CEO of M&C Hybrid Energy, will open the room talking all renewables, followed by Stephen Reilly, who will discuss the BER assessment and the importance of renewables in upgrading. Leighanne Fay, Retrofit Project Manager from CORE, will talk about what grants you can avail of for these upgrades. Followed by Vaughan, Branch Manager of AIB Bank Cavan, will tell you how you can fund these upgrades. And finally, Bernard Keating, Renewable Energy Advocate and Customer, talks about his first-hand experience. So please do put your questions in the chat box and we will answer any questions at the end. And I'll pass you to Micheal here now.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Let me get this set up here now. Yeah. So, you can all see the screen there, you can?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've called this Building Better with Renewable Energy. And as Carmen said, we've a number of speakers here this morning who are coming from different angles, so kind of, putting ideas or into people's heads as to what they can do or what they can avail of. So there's a list of our speakers and some places to it. Myself, Stephen Reilly, Leighanne Fay, CORE, Vaughan and Bernard Keating. And this is some of the team here that we have at the moment, and I have an all-star accreditation for being a thought leader in energy conservation, because I just love what I do, and I like talking about it. Right, so we'll start off. Let's explore what is renewable energy and why should we install or upgrade to a renewable energy source. Well, I hope by the end of this webinar, I can't write yet, that I can illuminate these questions, concerns that you may have. Assure that by upgrading and installing renewable energies to your home or business, you're investing in the future and the future of our next generation. You will save money, you will have an energy efficient, comfortable home or business, which is easy to run and sustain. You will also be playing your part in reducing Ireland's need and reliance on fossil fuels, and in turn protecting our beautiful planet. There are lots of ways to make your home or business more energy efficient and comfortable. I think especially now, people are much more aware of climate change, as it is nearly on the news every day, so that we can all have to try and make ourselves more aware of how to save energy and in turn reduce our energy consumption bills. Today I'm going to speak to you on heat pumps, solar PV and mechanical ventilation. These are mainly a lot of the things that have to go into new builds now. So the steps that I propose to my domestic customers are: step one, you have to start off and get the building energy rating done in your house. It's a Bible for people to know what you have to do to get to where you want to be before you even start doing it, if you can understand that. So step two is insulate. I can't emphasize enough on insulation. And then step three is the heating design, heating systems, plumbing, heat pumps, heating controls, thermostatic radiator valves, flushing out heating systems, solid fuel stoves, and then at the end of that we have microgeneration, which is solar PV, and you can generate your own electricity from that. These are my steps that I propose for commercial customers. The first step is to speak to your accountant in relation to an accelerated capital allowance, which is a tax write-off for any fixed assets classed as renewable on your business. Look at the BER Energy Community Grants, and Leighanne will be speaking about this later on. And assess your ESB bills every year and shop around. It's good to do that every year. The first source we're going to talk about is heat pumps. What is a heat pump? An air source heat pump is an environmental system which extracts heat from low temperature sources, air, water or the ground, upgrades it to a higher temperature and releases it where it's required for space or hot water heating. If anyone has any questions, you can put them in the box there at the bottom as we're going through any of this. So Mitsubishi Electric, I've worked with Mitsubishi Electric probably about 20 years ago in America, and then I started here back about 8 or 9 years ago, and we have an exclusive agency with them in Cavan and the surrounding counties. They do a couple of different types of systems. At the bottom here, you can see the different sizes of cylinders. They basically look like a fridge, and they fit in very well into a hot press. So sizing the correct heat pump. This is, I can't emphasize this enough. Stephen does the BER, and he gives us a heat loss calculation for a house. And with that figure, we can size the heat pump within a couple of 100 watts. If we don't have that report, we're guessing. So by guessing, one thing you could do, you could undersize a heat pump, or you could oversize a heat pump. And by undersizing a heat pump, you will reduce its efficiency, you will increase your running costs, and reduce the life expectancy. By oversizing a heat pump, you'll short cycle it, and by doing that, a heat pump has so many stop starts, and if it is designed to have 10,000 stop starts and you oversize it, well, then you're reducing the life expectancy of it as well. So it's imperative that you get the size right. The two different types of systems that Mitsubishi use are a monoblock, which is an air to water heat pump. It's a monoblock unit. It heats the water outside and then pumps the heat into the cylinder inside. And the other type unit is a split unit, and it has refrigerant gas, which it heats outside and sends it into the indoor unit, and the heat transfer is made inside. We'll move on here now. These are the domestic grants that's available. Now, Leighanne's going to be talking about the BEC grants. These are SEAI warmer home schemes. There's so many different grants out there at the minute. It's actually hard to keep up with them. So there's some of the figures there on the home energy grants. Our next renewable energy source will be solar PV. What is solar PV? It's a clean source. It converts sunlight into electricity for homes and businesses. You put them on a side-facing roof of your house, and basically during daylight hours, it turns light into DC current, into electricity, and you can use it in your home. Excess electricity can be stored in two ways. It can be stored in a battery storage system, or we primarily use it, we store it in a hot water cylinder. So it's cheaper than the batteries, and people need hot water, plus the fact that it will do most of its work from April till October when you have your heating switched off and you need to drop hot water through them months. And this is just a schematic of the different types of ways that this system can be actually plugged in. So you have your panels on the top, you have your hot water cylinder down here, you have a battery storage system. So it can be hooked up in numerous different ways for it to work in a home or a business. These are the solar PV grants at the moment. They're on hold. They were talking about stopping them there at Christmas. So they've kind of put them on hold now at the minute, and we don't know what's going to happen until the restrictions are lifted. But we got a letter the other day from the DSB, and they're talking about bringing in a feed-in tariff in July. We got a letter the other day from them, so long last, and I won't hold my breath on it, but hopefully they will come up with something. Now, so these are some of the installations, different types, different styles. The first house up here on the left-hand side is a house. They had to put this on to get through the Part L building regulations. This is a ground-mounted system, and the system at the bottom is a roof-mounted on a slate roof, and it's installed with a heat pump also. The third source that I want to talk to you today about, I know I'm getting through this, but we have a lot to get through, and we have a short time to do it. The third source I want to go through to you is mechanical heat recovery ventilation. Now, more so for new builds, all the houses that's been built nowadays, everything basically has to be A2 rated. That's the build, and that's the way it has to be to sign off on it. So there's two different types of mechanical ventilation systems. You have a heat recovery system, which you have an airtight house, and you can see the red lines here. They take heat out of your bathrooms and kitchen when there's heat being produced, put it through the exchange box, dump the dirty air outside, take the clean air back in, and whatever heat is left in the exchange box puts that into your bedrooms. Basically, you're living in a bubble, and this is the lung for your house. That's the simplest way I can put it. The other system, which would be a cheaper system, it's called a demand control system. It's basically vents in the wall, and it works on humidity in the air, and they open and close automatically. So that's the two different types of heat recovery systems. There's heat recovery and demand control ventilation. This is one of the units that we have used at Ventaxia. and it's basically put in your attic or put in a closet or whatever. And Mitsubishi this year now they're actually coming out with the new a whole new heat recovery system. So we're just looking into that at the moment. Now these are some case studies that we would have done down through the years. Myself and Carmel were in business now for 13 years, and look, we love what we do, and we're after getting through a lot of tough times, and we're here to educate and help people. That's our main priority, is to let people understand what they want. Like, you can look everything up on Google, you can go and listen to pub talk, not that there's that much of it nowadays, but basically, if you have a question, you have a query, you want to talk about something, you have an idea, we'll talk you through it, we'll explain it to you in layman's terms, and then it's up to yourself what you want to do, because at the end of the day, it's what you want. So some of the case studies here, this is our own home. We built this house back in 2008, and it's an ICF build. It's built with insulation and concrete poured into the middle of it. It's airtight. It has a mechanical heat recovery system, a wind turbine. It's a carbon neutral house. This house, we built it 13 years ago, and it's built to the standards that any new house has been built to today. It's an A2 rated house built 13 years ago. So that's how big I am into all this. And I'm a firm believer, if you're going to go out and sell it, you have to have it in your own house as well. So that's where I come from. We have a wood pellet stove in our sitting room. We have a wood pellet log boiler. Now these systems, I know I'm talking about heat pumps, but these systems, this is the norm back 13, 14, 15 years ago. Right, SEAI were given grants for all this. Pellet systems are now more commercialised. The stoves, yeah, they can be put into conservatories that they can find it hard to heat and don't use in the winter time. Solar thermal, that solar thermal system is doing roughly about 30% of our heating and 50 to 60% of our hot water. And then the wind turbine, it does most of its work during the winter months, we'd say from October right through to March. This time of year, we have plenty of wind. And it's we get paid 9 cents for every unit we export. It was a contract that we tied into a DSP back when we put it up, and they give us 9 cents for our export. Now this is a house here that we done. It's a house that's 240 years old, an old inefficient house with those old single glazed aluminium windows, very little insulation, an old iron cooker, and a solid fuel stove. And the running cost of this house was roughly, for elderly people living in it, it was roughly about 3,200 a year. Now, this house was done under a BEC grant, which Leighanne will be talking about later on. And what was done in this house here, there was new windows put in, the insulation was done, all the values of insulation, the heating system was upgraded, the thermostatic valves put on inside, we installed a heat pump and put 2 kilowatts of PV on the roof of the garage. Now, the running cost of this house now, you have to take into consideration that back in the day, in this house, you used to get dressed in bed because there was no heat, but now it's sitting at a comfortable 19 degrees, 21 degrees all year round, and the running cost of that house is roughly between 12 and 1,300 euro a year. So it's a completely different environment, and it's working out about roughly about 200 euro, 220 euro every 2 months. And that's just one bill. There's no oil bills, there's no sticks, coal, none of that.
Let's have a look at some examples. This example.
Right. Sorry. So you can see here, there's some of the figures. Bill is now only 1,200 euro. 2 kilowatt of PV is offsetting roughly about 1,400 units of power. And the payback on this project, because back when this was done, that was the grant that was given at the time, and that was the payback on this job, roughly about 15 months.
What results?
Just keeps doing this. Now, this is another small install we done over in Killinelec, I think it was. Basically, it's a 2 kilowatt system. As you can see, the other 2 kilowatt system had 8 panels. That's older panels. This system here is a 2 kilowatt system, but there's only 6 panels because they've made the panels are given more of an output now than they were back then. And this is done in to do hot water for this homeowner. I'm going to quickly fly through this because this is another typical install on a tile roof. This is an install that we've done here for ice cream treats in Killishandra. And this is the monitoring system that we put in down there. There's a screen inside and it shows them basically what they're producing, what they're using, and it gives all the different CO2 values. And they find it great when they have their customers like Tesco's or whoever comes in for a meeting in the reception area. It's a very good spot to have this for a topic of conversation. LED lighting is another job that we take pride in doing too. This is Colombo Business Park. We replaced all the lights in there just before Christmas and brightened up the whole place, and it looks great. So if you're ever driving by it, you'll notice the lighting of it. This is going down to the road, some more of the lights we put in. This is one of our oldest jobs we would have started on. It's a mushroom farm in Stradone. You can see there's 50 kilowatt of PV. We've done a rainwater harvesting system here, and we put in wood pellets boilers to offset his oil consumption.
Another case study.
So this is more of it. That's the bin, the pellet bin that feeds this premises, and the PV array on the roof. Hold on. Now, grants for commercial businesses. You have the capital accelerated allowance. You have community grants. The SSRH, I don't know where that's at the minute. Commercial electric vehicles, project assist grants, and excellent and energy efficient design, Exceed grant. And there's a lot into the Exceed grant, and they look at big commercial stuff for that. So look at, that's all I have to say on that. We must protect our own planet because it's our home and provider, and it's the only one we have, unfortunately. And that's us here. So now I will pass over to Carmel, who is going to give the floor to Stephen.
Okay. So Stephen, I'm going to make you the host now.
Okay. That's great. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
That's good. Okay, well, thanks for inviting me here, first of all, Micheal and Carmel. It's a pleasure to reach out to these few people here today. Good turnout as well, so delighted with that. My end of things is just, I suppose, the step one that Micheal was talking about, the BER assessment. So I suppose a lot of people wouldn't be too familiar with what's involved with the BER assessment. It is complex enough, and what we're really working out, I suppose, is the total heat loss of the building and the total energy consumption of the building. Now, the heat loss is very important for Micheal to do his design, so we really have to dig deep on this in existing houses, particularly when you have, say, retrofit work that was done years previous. We need to confirm what's there. We need to know what's there. So how do we do that? We need to investigate and possibly drill holes or take covers off vents in rooms. Maybe you can see it there, or even sometimes taking off plug covers on external walls, but obviously doing this with caution. So we need to visually see that. So there is a lot to it. I suppose I'll go on with my few notes that I have and a few slides, which should be available, to circulate if anybody wanted it. Then, Carmel, I sent you the slides and the documents that you can circulate later. But I suppose to move on then, the total energy consumption, what it is it's in relation to heating, hot water, ventilation, lighting, pumps and fans. That's what we're working out. Like even back with the heat loss there, there's a number of areas that's losing heat, I suppose. You've got your transmission heat losses, which is through building elements, your walls, floors, ceilings, windows and doors. Then ventilation heat loss, and infiltration as well, which is the unnatural gaps and cracks in the building envelope. So, where pipes penetrate the building fabric through walls or ceilings, or if you had a hot press and pipes going through ceilings, they're all areas that can be addressed and made that little bit more airtight, which is important for a heat pump installation. You really need to get the heat loss down on an existing build, for your heat pump to work well. So that's where I come in. So and as Micheal said, and Leighanne's here to talk about, there's plenty of grants then for upgrading your property installation wise, I suppose then really what I do is I come in, I assess the property and try and determine what's there. And and work on that basis, work out the total heat loss, see what upgrades is needed. Obviously kind of talk about budget as well. What is the budget? Can we stretch that far? Or, you know, we kind of break it down section by section, upgrade by upgrade. It can even be done on a phase basis, but that's stuff that we can discuss individually anyway. So if I want to share here, just bear with me for a second. I'm going to try and share my screen. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Carmel, can you see that? So look at it, an introduction.
Sorry, yes, Stephen, we can. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
thanks, that's great. It's just an introduction extract I have here from the deep manual, just kind of outlining exactly what's involved. So if you want to go through this, then we're talking about the dwelling energy assessment procedure. This is the software that is used to determine the energy consumption of dwellings, the factors that contribute to annual energy usage and associated CO2 emissions of the provision of heat, space heating, water heating, ventilation and lighting. And this includes, these are the factors now that we have to look at. So the size of the property, the geometry and exposure of the property is important. Obviously the construction materials and then the thermal insulation properties of those materials. This is all that we are looking at. Like I said, the dwelling ventilation characteristics, the heating systems, responsiveness and controls, the hot water usage, also solar gains through glazed openings, that's taken into consideration. So you're getting natural heat from the sun. So that's all taken into consideration as well. Thermal storage mass capacity of the dwelling, that's just if you have, say, solid walls, internal partitions, external solid walls, that has a major impact as well. Now, the more energy efficient the house is, the less impact this has. But it's something that we have to consider and we measure on site and all is taken on board. Fuels used is important, so you know, oil, gas, electricity, etc. And then obviously the renewable and alternative energy generation technologies, that is the biggie. That's where we need to get our CO2 emissions down and our running costs low. We need to be talking about renewable energy technologies. But there are limitations to the, I suppose, the BER software, and it's interesting to note this. So the BER Assessor should consider all aspects of the dwelling fabric, which, yeah, that's obvious, we'll do all that. The calculation uses standard assumptions regarding occupancy. This is based on floor area. That's important to realise that. So you could have a small house with a large amount of occupants in it, which will be using a lot of energy. So with the deep software, we have to standardise it so that you can compare like with like, okay? So these are the limitations. Levels and durations of heating are set. 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the evening for the heating season. That's set. Regardless of how the homeowner uses it, that's set, okay? And then the hot water demand, as well as usage of electricity for ventilation, pumps and lighting. So all that's taken into consideration. So that's that slide. Just hold on a second now. I'm just going to get to the next one. So again, here's another slide. It's talking about your transmission losses there and ventilation, infiltration losses there as well. This is just, I suppose, give you an idea. It's meant to be on an uninsulated house, this. So uninsulated, what does that mean? I'm not too sure, but probably pre-2000 built house, you could say, right? So you're talking about 30% heat loss through the roof, the same for the walls, 20 for the floor, doors and windows, 10%, air infiltration, 10%, there or thereabouts. So there is a considerable heat loss through the building elements and air infiltration. So we need to address this. We need to get that right down, and my assessment will include all that. Here's another pie chart. It's just giving you an idea again on, you know, what is the biggest consumer of energy. Generally speaking, it's the space heating. You can see it's over 50% there. That is the bulk of your cost. And then after that, then is your hot water, about a quarter of that. And the rest is made up then of space heating, consumer electronics, cooking, lighting, wet appliances and miscellaneous. Now, the consumer electronics, cooking, they're not included in the deep, but this pie just gives you an indication of your energy usage typically, okay? So when you install a heat pump, a heat pump it could be anything between 300 to 500% efficient, just depending on the house itself and various other factors. But when you install a heat pump, this blue becomes much smaller. And nearly in new builds anyway, the hot water is the biggest consumer of energy. So you need to think about renewables. You need to get the hot water and heating down, and we can do that by using renewables. Now again, my report will sort of itemize that, what your current energy usage is, the primary energy usage, and then, you know, with the proposed measures, what the end result will be then after the proposed measures, which is all good information to have. To give a summary of the BER, we're breaking it down there on space heating. You just can't see that there. I don't know what that is now. So main space heating, yeah, you can see primary energy and delivered energy. The difference between the two: primary energy is the energy that is required to get your fuel to your house, from extraction, delivery to your site, and using it at site. That's the primary energy, and that's what the BER is based on always, the primary energy. But then the delivered energy is just the energy that you're using at the house, at source, disregarding the energy used to get to your house, if that makes any sense. So you can see the main space heating is that, the main water heating is that. Now this, I think, is yeah, it's an A3 building. This is actually, it's a new build, but it gives you a kind of an idea of what we're doing and what we're breaking down here in terms of energy usage. So we gather information on site, we populate the software, and all the algorithms is working in the background for you know, giving us these results. So main space heating, secondary space heating, there was none in that. Secondary space would be the likes of your stove, open fireplace, electric fuel effect fire, etc. But there was none in this house, so that's that. Main water heating, again, you can see it's lower than the main space heating, marginally. It's not too far apart. Let me see: pumps, fans, electric showers, etc. Energy for lighting, which then gives you a total at the end. So that's just giving you an idea of what we're doing. But for Micheal, really what we're doing is we're working out the total heat loss for him to do the design. So that's where we really need to dig deep on the survey when we're there. So I hope that explains a little bit about the BER side of things. Now, there's a couple of documents that SEAI have. Here's one of them. Again, I'm sure Carmel can circulate this. It's just a guide to building energy rating for homeowners. So you can review that yourself, and it's kind of breaks it down exactly what the BER cert is and what it means. So you can have a look at that. There's also a table there at the end which gives you an indicative running costs per grade. So my house there is a B3, 1400, say a 4-bed semi, €1,400. But as far as I'm aware, that doesn't include the plug loads. So in reality, it would be actually, your energy bills would be a little bit higher than that. I know my own there is about 1,800 for 2020. So it gives you an idea of what the running costs will be. So if you're down here on an E-rated dwelling, you pick your, you know, whichever type house represents yours most closely, and you can see the running costs and what you can save. But again, please remember that this is a standardized method of measurement. There's set time schedules, there's set temperatures in the dwelling to derive with these figures, whereas the actual usage, the occupants, the way they actually use will be different. They might have, you know, more time. The schedule might be on for 10 hours a day for the heating season, or they might prefer to have it at 22 degrees inside rather than 21 degrees for living spaces and 18 for bedrooms, which is embedded in the software. That's a standardized method of measurement for the BER software. So you need to keep that in mind. So that's that. What else do I have here? Sorry?
Sorry, Stephen, you were just saying there about the part added. It's A3 or A2, is it?
Yeah, that's not me actually. There's another Stephen there, I think. But that is correct. That is correct. You can still achieve full compliance to 2019 regs at an A3.
A3, yeah.
But it'd be very close, you know, to the A2.
NZ now is A2, isn't it?
NZ is A2, but it can be an A3 also.
Okay.
The only way to determine compliance is to model it in the software, and there's different thresholds you have to meet. There's the carbon performance coefficient, the energy performance coefficient, and then there's the renewable contribution. If they are ticked and you're on A3, you're still fully in compliance. Okay, that's
okay. Thanks very much for that.
It's all right. Just let me see if there's anything else there. I have another one here which is very important. I'd like everyone to have if we're thinking about going down this road and applying for grants and doing BER certs or an assessment. This is a document preparing for your BER assessment. I think it's very important just to know what we're looking for. So obviously the first thing is the MPRN number. Details of any previous BER assessments. You know, if you could locate that, then we can review. Proof of the year the house was built. That's very important. And if there's any, I suppose, extensions, any drawings, plan specifications of the house, the age of any extensions added to the house. You know, so that's all very important. This is the stuff we will be digging deep on, trying to determine how the house is currently performing, and then we add on a few measures and see what the end result is. It's all good to go. Then we press the button. Details of any upgrades. So there could have been work done previously, like I was saying earlier on, internal insulation or cavities pumped, anything that's not visual, you can't see on the day of the survey. We need to substantiate what's there. So if you have any paperwork on it, have it ready for the survey. Make a model, that's okay. Heat sources, that's usually visual certification information for windows and doors. That's important as well. So if you've got any new windows or doors installed in the last, say, 10 years, you can go back to the manufacturer or supplier and look for what we call a U-value search. And that's very important for determining accurately the heat loss of the building. You know, so it may not be applicable, but to the homeowners that it is applicable, that's important. Okay, preparing your home for BR. So, Carmen, if you wouldn't mind circulating that, that'd be great.
Yes, of course. Yeah, no problem. Can do that.
Now, obviously, look at it's a case-by-case basis. You know, I'd go into more detail with the homeowner on the day and try and explain it a little bit better. But yeah, look at that's pretty much sums the thing up. And if you have any queries, I'd be happy to answer them at the end.
Okay. So, Stephen, can you would you be able to pass over to Leighanne? Leighanne's going to talk about the availability of grants.
Am I host here at the moment?
Yes.
Okay, Leighanne. Make host, okay?
Yeah.
You want to change host, Leighanne? Yes. Okay.
Thanks, Stephen.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen, and thanks, Carmel and Micheal, for the invitation to speak today, and thank you for everyone for joining. So, as Carmel said, my name is Leighanne Fay, and I'm the Domestic and Sales Project Manager for Core Retrofit. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully this works. Now, is that okay? Yeah, perfect. So so Core Retrofit are a Cavan-based company. We're based in Kinalek, and we are a one-stop shop for full domestic, commercial and community-based deep retrofit and project management services. So Core Retrofit have been in this type of business, one-stop shop retrofit since 2014, and we offer a full service retrofit package from start to finish. So that's basically from the very first step of the design phase to a grant application to the commencement of works, quality control processes, and to the completion of works and drawing down the grant for the homeowner. So our services include, we help our customers understand what grants and incentives are available. So as Micheal said earlier, it can be quite confusing, all the different grants that are available. And we just help our customers understand which is the best scheme or incentive to go with for them. our design services. So that includes the pre-energy assessments and technical assessments and heat loss calculations, as Stephen spoke about. We have a vast amount of technical expertise in-house as well. So we're part of Core Systems, which is a leading manufacturer of insulation in the Irish and UK market now for over 20 years now. We offer full project management services from start to finish. So for a deep retrofit especially, it can be very complicated for a homeowner in terms of paperwork and technical detail. So we offer that service from start to finish, and we have a dedicated project manager assigned to each individual job. We also offer quality control processes and procedures. So that's making sure that the work is done to an exacting standard required by the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland and the National Standards Authority of Ireland also. So on-time delivery of milestones and grant payments. So with these schemes, and I will go into these in more detail, but with these schemes, the grants that are available, they'll only ever be paid out on projects that are delivered on time and on budget. So our project management expertise is key to our successful track record on these schemes. We work with high quality professional contractors. We work with the best contractors in the country. And any products that are installed in these buildings are very high quality and certified as well. So this is just some of our team. It's a constantly growing team. We have Noel and Caroline and Porrick there, the directors, to our retrofit project managers, surveyors, quality surveyors, and marketing and accounts as well. So the schemes, I suppose what I'm going to go into more details specifically to is the National Retrofit Housing Scheme and the Communities Energy Grant Scheme. So you may hear this being called the BER Energy Communities or the BEC scheme. Both are very similar. The National Retrofit Housing Scheme is obviously housing only, and the Communities Energy Grant Scheme does involve housing, but also commercial upgrades and community energy upgrades as well. So you just see the box here on the right hand side is the funding levels. So for residential homeowners, private homeowners, there is grants available of up to 35%. For those that may be in receipt of certain social welfare payments, so that could be fuel allowance or carers allowance, for example, there is grants available of up to 80%. Local authority and private rented homes up to 35%, and housing associations as well, up to 50% grants available. For the non-residential sector, so that's so it could be a not-for-profit or community organisation can avail of grants of 30% up to 50%. For that project, it does have to be pre-approved by SEAI in advance just to determine that grant rating. The private and public sector then grants of up to 30% also. So the eligible upgrades for these type of schemes. So on domestic, there is grants available on the whole home insulation. So that's wall, roof and floor insulation, external windows and doors, renewable heating systems like air to water heat pumps and heating controls, mechanical ventilation, so that's demand control ventilation and mechanical heat recovery, and solar photovoltaic panels as well. And the commercial and community sector, the measures are measures specific to the business or to the community. So different types of upgrades that have been grant aided before. So it's fabric upgrades. So that's your insulation and your windows and doors, renewable heating and solar PV systems, refrigeration, ventilation, motor and drive upgrades, air handling units. So it's really measure specific, and it's anything really that can be proven to show a significant energy saving for the business or the community building. So the criteria for these schemes and more specifically for the domestic, so qualifying homes must have been built before 2006, and that's for grants on the fabric upgrades. And And the reason for this was new building regulations brought in after 2006. So by law, the house should have been brought up to that level. For the more renewable systems, it is up to, I think, 2011. But for the fabric and insulation grants, the house must have been built before 2006. You must own the home, and the home must achieve a minimum energy rating of B2. So Stephen did speak there about the BER scale. So for instance, a house may be at a D rating at the moment. It must be brought up to minimum B2 and achieve a minimum uplift of 100 kilowatts. So for example, a house that might be a C1 rating may not be suitable for these type of schemes because it must achieve a minimum uplift of 100 kilowatts. A heat loss calculation must be achieved of below 2.0 with installing a heat pump. And we must use a fabric first approach. So by fabric, I mean insulation and windows and doors, and that has to be addressed first before we start to address the heating and maybe solar panels first. Whole home solutions. So for example, that would mean, windows, for example, you can't just upgrade maybe 1 or 2 windows. It would have to be a full window replacement. Or walls, all external walls would have to be upgraded. So a whole home solution, and multiple measures are required. So if, for example, a home might only need attic insulation, then unfortunately would not be suitable for a scheme like this. There is grants out there for individual, single measure grants. That's the BER Energy Homes grant. But these type of schemes are more designed for people that are doing multiple measures at one time. So stage 1 is the design and quotation process. So Stephen, you went into this in more detail. It's each property is looked on a case-by-case basis, and as I said, the home must achieve a final BER rating of B2. So that initial pre-design is very important to determine the works needed to get to that rating. So pre-design includes, the pre-BER, which will determine the current rating of the home, a proposed spec of works, the works required to reach minimum B2, and a technical assessment to calculate all the heat loss values of the home. An on-site survey then is carried out to collect measurements, and this is followed up then by a proposal document from CORE, which is a full quotation and detailed description of the works. So if the homeowner accepts the proposal, your home will be included then in an overall application to SEAI for grant funding. So generally the grant percentage is 35%. CORE Retrofit will apply for that maximum of 35%. But please be aware that sometimes the final grant approvals may not be for that maximum amount. And that's just something beyond our control, unfortunately. But we estimate from experience it's usually between 30 and 35%. And an example of that would be for windows. So for instance, SEAI will approve a cost per metre squared of windows, and that would cover a standard triple glaze unit, for example. If a homeowner wants to install, a more high-end window, maybe sash windows that would cost a little bit dearer, then that's completely fine, but it just would not be fully grant-aided. So yes, so the application goes in and it is approved by SEAI, and we will then send a letter of offer to the homeowner. On acceptance of the letter of offer, then we will move into the commencement of work. So all works will be completed to the exacting standards required and will be quality controlled as well by CORE throughout the duration of the project. The homeowner pays for works in installments, and in payment terms, it's generally 40% before commencement of works, 40% mid-project or on completion of major works, for example, external wall insulation, and 20% then on completion. So stage 4 then is the final BER. So when works are all completed, we will carry out a final BER audit, and that will confirm the new energy rating, and a new BER cert will be issued to the homeowner. CORE will then submit a payment request to SEAI confirming that the works are completed, and submit all the paperwork as well that's needed. So with these works, there's a high amount of paperwork that's needed, and every product that goes into a house has to be certified. So we need to improve all that, and that's Core will look after all the grant administration and paperwork as well. SEAI will then complete an on-site inspection, and once this is passed, the grant is then issued back to Core. There's generally a 3 to 4 month period between on-site inspection and the grant being issued. So, for example, a lot of houses last year would have been finished up approximately September, and we've seen the grant being paid back just before Christmas. So that's generally the timeline. Once it's transferred then to Core, it's issued to the homeowner immediately. So just a couple of case studies. So this was a house in Donegal last year, and it was completed under BER Energy Community Scheme. It had a pre-building energy rating of C2, which was equal to 180.29 kilowatt hours. And the upgrades that we installed in this property was an air to water heat pump system, and demand control ventilation system, full window replacement and external doors, external wall insulation, roof insulation, and solar panels. So it was a deep retrofit project. This was the finished project, or it was a post-billing energy rating of A3, which is equivalent to 58.33 kilowatt hours. So significant energy saving. We'll see the external wall insulation was applied, all new windows and doors. So we addressed the fabric of the building first, installing a new air to water heat pump system and solar panels as well to offset the cost of the electricity. This is another case study. So this was in Virginia, in County Cavan. It was originally a G rating. I think it was approximately 450 kilowatt hours a year. Homeowner was spending approximately €2,000 on fossil fuels and 1,500 on electricity pre-works. So what was installed here was, again, a deep retrofit. It was about 150 mil floor insulation, 100 mil external wall insulation, roof insulation, an air to water heat pump, mechanical ventilation, full window replacement and external doors, solar panels, and a full LED lighting upgrade inside. So the post rating was an A2. It was equal to approximately 25 kilowatt hours a year, and the homeowner is now spending approximately €1,200 on hot water and electricity. It's an A2 rated home. The homeowner has actually rented this property out now and has been able to to charge a dearer amount for renting as well, because it's such a low energy rating home. So the benefits of retrofitting, and it really goes beyond the initial grant funding, the benefits are realized over the lifetime of the building. It's more comfortable and warm place to live, work and play. It's a healthier indoor environment with improved air quality, which we all know is extremely important at the moment. The cost savings as well as energy spend is reduced on an ongoing basis. We all know that the price of fossil fuels is going to increase over the next couple of years. So the decreased carbon emissions and carbon footprints, as Micheal mentioned, and this offers benefits to the local community while delivering on Ireland and EU's climate action plan as well. It's a more durable building that requires less maintenance, and again, it's a higher property and resale value with an increased BER rating. So if anyone is interested in doing a retrofit project or commercial upgrades, please contact us. We are open for applications for housing for 2021, and we are open for applications for commercial and community upgrades for 2022. My contact details are there, and we would definitely be happy to speak about any of your projects.
Thanks, Leighanne.
Thank you.
Okay, so Aisling is going to speak next. So if Leighanne, can you make me the host, and I'll bring up Aisling's slides. So share screen. Now, Ashley.
Perfect.
Oh, thanks.
Perfect, Carmel. Thanks a million. Unfortunately, I'm operating from the phone, so it's just not as simple on the screen sharing side of things. So thank you for that. Just, I suppose, hello, everyone. I hope you're all well and that you can hear me okay there. As Carmel said, Aisling Vaughan is my name, and I'm the branch manager here in Cavan branch, in the local branch. So firstly, a big shout out and a big thank you to Micheal and Carmel for organising today's event and for inviting me along just to chat to you on the AIB's Green Mortgage event, Green Mortgage proposition. So I'll just take you maybe to the first slide there. So I have just a few slides to give you a brief overview of what it is the Green Mortgage is and how to avail of it. And listen, I'd be more than happy at the end of the session to take any of your questions. So are you okay, Carmel, to move to the next slide?
Is that okay, Aisling? Can you see that?
Yeah. If you just want to move to the next slide, what is the Green Mortgage proposition?
Can you see that, Ashley? No, I'm moving the slides.
I can just see the cover slide.
So I'm on slide 2 there. What is the green?
Once you're on slide 2, that's perfect. It's just not showing for me. Perfect.
Okay.
So listen, just a little bit of detail. Okay, so the Green Mortgage, it's around now since it was launched back in, I think it was November 2019. So it's a 5-year fixed rate that's available. It's available to both new and existing AIB mortgage holders. So it's for your private dwelling home. So what we mean when we say private dwelling home, it's available for the home that you live in. So unfortunately, the mortgage, the green rate is not available on investment properties or rental properties. So basically, once you have, so you've already gone to Micheal, gone to Carmel, got your BER cert from Stephen, got your project work done, and you now have improved your BER rating. If you hold a BER rating between A1 and B3, you are eligible to apply for the AIB Green fixed rate. So all you need from the bank's point of view, all you need to provide us with is a valid BER certificate, and that's confirming to AIB your BER rating of between A1 and B3. So the BER cert can be no more than 10 years old. And you must have 5 years minimum remaining on your mortgage. So basically, because it's a 5-year fixed rate, if you were lucky enough to be at the end of your mortgage and you only had 1 or 2 years left, it's not going to be suitable for you. Okay, so once you meet above the criteria that we've spoken about, so it's your family home, the home you're living in, you've got your BER cert, it's confirming you have a BER between A1 and B3, you are eligible to qualify for the rate. So if you're a new customer and you're applying for a new mortgage customer and you're applying for your mortgage, during the course of your application, we will be able to include, if the green rate is your preferred rate of choice, we will be able to talk to you about the rate and to include it in your contract, in your mortgage contract. If you're an existing mortgage customer, it could well be the case that you're a mortgage customer for 15 years, 20 years. You've recently done project work on your house to improve your overall energy efficiency, and you've brought your BER rating up between an A1 and B3. You can switch from your existing variable rate or fixed rate to the more competitive green rate by just providing us with a copy of your BER cert. Okay, so there's just, if you are on a fixed rate, it's worth chatting to us, because if you're currently on a fixed rate and you want to switch to the green rate because it's a better rate for you, we would advise you just to chat to us first, because there could be breakage costs there for you because you're already locked into a fixed rate. But because at the moment what we're finding, interest rates are very low and the breakage costs are non-existent or very, very low for customers, and they're still opting to move over to the BER rate. Okay, so I'll just take you to the next slide then. Why did AIB introduce this green mortgage proposition? And I suppose, as I've said, guys, the rate is there now since November 19. And I think back last October, so it was a year open, and by last October we had AIB customers had drawn down 245 million in green mortgages for energy efficient homes. So it is very much in demand. It's a very competitive rate, and we're finding, I suppose, that, you know, customers, there's a growing customer and market need to support customers who are motivated to purchase homes that will reduce their carbon footprint. So a lot of our customers, they're finding it very attractive. They want warmer houses that cost less to heat. They've lower monthly mortgage repayments as a result of the green rate, and they know that they're playing their part in reducing their carbon footprint. So I suppose the green mortgage was the first in a number of sustainable initiatives by the bank. Is this next one we have just heard of this morning, so it's very timely to be talking to you all today. So up to this, we have just had the green mortgage under our belt. We now have a green loan, which is launching on Friday the 26th, this Friday. And the green loan is for customers who want to make energy improvements to their home, or they're looking to maybe purchase an electric car, and they will be rewarded with a more competitive interest rate. So say your standard personal lending rate could be along the lines of 8.95. The green loan that is launching on Friday is going to launch with a leading market rate of 6.4%. So there's a lot of initiatives there for customers who are looking for finance from AIB to, I suppose, to finance their projects. It's great to hear from Leighanne of the grants that are available to our customers, but also some of our customers will be looking to the bank to finance their projects. So it's good to know that there is competitive rates available to them. Sorry, I'm going black here. That's the energy efficient lighting in AIB. It goes on. And then on the loans as well, that they have that rate. So it will be available from Friday. You'll see lots of information out on the media in relation to it, or any of our staff here or myself would be happy to talk to you on it. Initially, it will just be available to apply for via our mobile app. But come June, you will be available to ring up or to call into the branch to apply for that specific loan. Okay, so I just included the next slide, Carmel, on the mortgage pricing.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we just
I just want to check, Aisling, if Leighanne or Stephen, can you see the slides as I'm scrolling?
No, can't see them, Carmel. It's still
no, they're not coming up. Okay, well, I am trying. Aisling, you can talk away, and I'll try and get it sorted here.
No bother.
Okay.
I'll chat you through, guys. I suppose what it means for customers, sometimes there's a lot of information there at the mortgage application stage, and primarily customers are most concerned with, you know, will I meet the criteria, first of all, to get a mortgage, and how much can I borrow? So once they have got all of that, then we sit down and we talk rate, because we know they've been approved for the mortgage. So then they're open to talking rate. And there's so many rates out there in terms of variable rates, fixed rates, green rates. What is going to be the most suitable rate for that customer? And it is a very personal choice, but a lot of our customers are opting for the fixed rate at the moment because of the certainty of it. They like to know how much they're going to be paying on a monthly basis for the next 5 years. And because it is the most competitive rate we have at the moment up our sleeve. So typically, and I know you can't see the slide there, but I'm just going to talk you through 3 examples, okay? So basically, if you're a customer with 160,000 mortgage and you're opting for our new green 5-year fixed rate, so there's 3 specific rates depending on your loan to value. So when we talk about loan to value, it's depending on how much you owe on your mortgage versus the value of your house. So if you're lucky enough to have a loan to value less than 50%, so for example, the property is valued at 350,000. That's it, Carmel. Perfect. So it's the first example I'm on. So your property is valued at 350,000. You have a mortgage of 160,000. So your loan to value there is 46%. We can offer you the green fix, the 5-year fixed rate of 2.25%, which is the lowest rate we have. Your mortgage repayments are €697 versus our standard rate, €738. So how much money is back in your pocket? You €41 per month back in your pocket, and over the lifetime of the loan, you're saving yourself €4,190. So it's significant savings that are there for our customers, in addition to the savings they're making, obviously, on their utilities. So the second example is the same example, and in this scenario, the mortgage is 250,000 versus a property that's valued at 350. So it's bringing you into the slightly higher tier of you've a property value between 50 and 80%. So in this case, the green rate is giving you a repayment of €1,102 versus €1,178 on our standard variable rate. So that's a saving of 76 per month and 7,922 over the life of the mortgage. So again, very significant savings. And lastly then is if you are in the LTV bracket of greater than 80%. So your mortgage is 285,000 versus a property valued at 350,000. So in this case, we can offer you 2.45% green rate versus our standard rate of 3.15. So in that case, you're saving 100 per month. And again, over the lifetime of the mortgage, 10,628. So there are significant savings to be made for our customers. And I suppose from talking to customers out there, it's mainly the guys that are talking to us about applying for their mortgage are very tuned into rates and very aware of the rates that are available to them. And most of our customers at the moment, the majority would be self-builds, and most of them will be building very energy efficient homes and will automatically fall into the bracket of an A1 to B3 BER, and they will in turn, the majority of them are selecting the green fixed rate. So they're availing of the rates. But I suppose this today for us is a great opportunity to get the message out to our existing mortgage customers, because our existing mortgage customers may not be aware, that you can save on your mortgage by improving the energy rating on your home and by providing the bank with your BER cert. There's savings to be made. It's a very simple process. All we need is the BER cert and a signed instruction from yourself opting to go for the green rate. Your rate is automatically changed, and our home mortgages will write out to you then confirming the savings you are making to your specific mortgage. Okay, so finally, I just included the final slide there that you're looking at. Is really just, I know again, a busy slide. We can get bamboozled with rates. But again, it's just showing you there a comparison on our fixed rates that are available. So our fixed rates, as I've said to you already, they're all dependent on what tier you fall into in your loan to value. So that's the amount of your mortgage versus the value of your property. But you can see there from our 1 to 2 year fixed rate offerings right down to your 10-year fixed. And the bottom line is showing you our green 5-year fixed. And it is the most competitive rate that's out there. So it's a good incentive for customers that are looking at improving the energy efficiency of our home or have already done so. So they're the savings that they can make. So I know it's very much a whistle-stop tour, folks, and I know that I've only included the mortgage offering on our slides because we only just became aware this morning that the date of the launch of our new green loan, but it will be available, as I said, from Friday, and it's something else that will be worth looking into because it is another great incentive that if maybe, you're looking at doing some works, it's not you don't want to go down the mortgage route, you now have a personal loan available to you with a leading rate as well. I've just, on my last slide, I have included the contact details. There's 15 staff here in Cavan branch. Even with COVID restrictions, the branch staff are still working in the office. So if anybody would like to call into us, we're more than happy to sit down and chat to you in relation to any of your queries you might have. You also have the option of going online to apply for your mortgage or to talk to any of our advisors online via AIB.ie. or on phone calls. So I've included the mobile details there, and all of our mortgage advisors are set up to have virtual meetings on Zoom as well. So just with the current restrictions, and I understand people are not at ease, you know, maybe coming into the office, we can do a lot with you over the phone, over email, or on virtual meetings. So I know everybody's circumstances, they're going to be individual to them. And even if you just want to make an inquiry to see how much would I save on my mortgage if I were to go and do X, Y, and my house and improve my BER rating, we'd be happy to work out those calculations with you and to sit down with you and to work out the pricing and basically what it would mean to your pocket. So that's really all from me, guys. I know there's a lot of information from everybody else, and my side of it is really just how to finance any work that you might be looking at doing. As I said, more than happy to chat to you at any stage.
Thanks, Ashley. That's brilliant. Thank you. So really some huge savings to be made there, Ashley. I was saying, Ashley, there's some huge savings to be made by having a look over.
Absolutely. And I suppose it's just becoming, there is more and more of a demand, and we are seeing a lot of interest at the moment. And I suppose there is kind of, you know, anecdotal kind of talk that banks aren't lending mortgages at the moment under the COVID restrictions, which we're not seeing. You know, we're seeing quite the opposite. We're seeing maybe, of course, there's people that are impacted, and depending what sector you're working on, but there is a lot of customers that are not impacted and maybe are saving a little bit more because we can't spend the same amount on entertainment, holidays. So maybe they're fast forwarding a little bit where they mightn't have planned to look at the mortgage for a couple of years. They're kind of talking to us now because maybe they've gathered their deposit quicker than they thought they might have. So there is good demand there. And the energy efficiency for anyone building a house is top of their list. What we're finding is, you know, they want to spend the money on building a home for life, you know, an energy efficient home. So it's just tying in with that, I suppose, AIB's offering as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, thanks, Ashley.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Now, so Bernard Keating is going to talk to us now. Is that all right, Bernard?
Yes, I hope you can hear me all there. Can you?
Yeah, thanks for being here, Bernard.
Not at all. Okay, look, I'm going to come at this from three different angles, really. First of all, as a customer of M&C Hybrid Energy, which I have been for many a year now. Second of all, I'm coming at it, I suppose, from working in the industry. And I'd be working on a different side of the industry to what we've spoken about here this morning. And then third of all, the problems that I've encountered in the industry and some of the solutions we've come up with. And then I'll finally wrap up with the good things that's happening, because there is good things happening out there as well. Okay. So first of all, I suppose I want to say a big thank you to Carmen and Micheal of M&C Hybrid Energy for asking me to contribute here today and share my thoughts and experiences with you, and to say hello to our fellow contributors here today and to the participants who took the time to log on and to hear what we have to say. So I suppose, like everything, the best place to start is with the start. So we built our house back in 1990, and we got quotes for a conventional block house and a timber frame house. So because of the emissions in concrete and stuff like that, I wasn't too happy to go that way. So we decided we'd go down the timber frame route. So we built our timber frame house, and there was a good insulation package at the time, but we also put in extra insulation on the internal walls of the house. So back then also, a friend of mine had been listening to a radio program. He was a lighthouse keeper down at Roche's Point Lighthouse, and he happened to be listening to a radio program that
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Bernard must have seemed to have frozen. Can you hear me?
It's gone off there. It's frozen. Sorry, we'll see. Can we get Bernard back here? Sorry. Okay, so Bernard is obviously frozen at the minute, so maybe we'll just take a couple of questions that are in the chat box, if that's okay, until Bernard.
Yeah, firstly, I'd like to thank everyone, and I hope for everyone that has joined us to listen to what we have to say can see the approach, the angle we're coming from by what we do, what Stephen does, what Leighanne can do for you, and what the bank can do for you. Fortunately, we wanted to get Bernard to give you kind of an overall view of some of the work we've done for him down through the years, and he's like myself. We're in the industry a long time.
Oh, Bernard, you're back.
I lost you there. Sorry about that.
You're okay, go ahead.
I'll keep going because I'm conscious of time here. So, okay, so we fitted the vacuum tube system anyhow, and it was installed in the house. And to say that we were surprised with the amount of hot water we got would have been a big understatement. The amount of hot water in the summertime was incredible. But we also discovered, to our delight, that it delivered a lot of hot water through the rest of the parts of the year, which you wouldn't be thinking. So anyhow, we got that system.
Oh, yeah, he keeps freezing on us there. Great demand on broadband today. No, what I was saying there earlier before Bernard came back there was that I hope you can see the approach that we've taken, like the steps that people need to take to make this right. Like, you know, it's not about guessing or I'll do this or do that. You just have to talk to the relevant people. Like, we normally get a call out, I want to fit a heat pump, and we talk about that, but it doesn't end up being that way. It ends up Stephen, insulation, and whatever work you need done, and then we look at doing the heat pump. So some of the people we're dealing with, if it's not under BEC, which can be done very quickly, if it's other type grants, people build it up over a number of years and try to work it that way. So, you know, like it's a big outlay.
Hello, sorry, he's back.
Again.
Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with the internet today. It's dropping out, but we never have problems with the internet here. I don't know what it is. Is it an omen or something? I don't know. But anyhow, we'll continue on. We had our LPG system in the house. So after a while, then I started working in the biomass industry, and I decided, and Micheal touched on this earlier on, and I'm a firm believer of this: if you're going to sell something, you better have the wherewithal to go and put it into your house or whatever it is, so that you can stand behind it confidently and show people that you're not selling something that you're not putting in yourself. And that's one big thing I'm very, very big on. So we did put in the wood pellet system. And you've got to remember, this was the early days of the wood pellet industry in Ireland. So we got it in anyhow. Now, like any system, it had its problems. And the biggest problem we found with it was the fuel. The fuel coming to the boiler itself was very dusty, and delivered with the wrong type of vehicles, and it caused untold havoc, to be honest with you. So I was working in the pellet industry at the time. I got moved into that industry, and the first thing we decided to do, I met Micheal at a show in Cavan, and when I spoke to Micheal, I listened to him, and I knew by talking to him that he had a passion about this industry, and that also he had a great understanding of the industry. And I said to myself, this may be something that we could work on. So myself and Micheal decided we tackle this from two sides. That Micheal tackle the boilers, the proper boilers, and the installing of them correctly, and I'd come at it from the side of the wood pellet delivery system and the fuel itself. And that's what we did. And so to that end, I have to say, the company I was working with at the time were very good. We flew out to Germany. We introduced into Ireland the first wood pellet delivery truck with a soft touch system. And that's vital. We brought that into the country here, and we were the first one in Ireland with it. So it had an instant effect of no dust in the system, and all of a sudden the system worked. So Micheal then came down to me. My own system needed a bit of an upgrade, so Micheal came down to me and we installed a solar focused wood pellet boiler with a buffer tank. And my God, was that the day in this house. We've never had to use the immersion heater in this house once since that whole system was put in. Solar thermal and the pellet system. So that was all put in, and the original system now that we put in at that stage, the Thermalmax system as it was at the time, that was 10 years old, and we noticed some of the tubes in it weren't really working to their best. So I asked Micheal, and he gave me his valued opinion on what we could do, and we put in. I had seen at the shows that I was going to a solar panel made by Solar Focus, and it was a very high efficiency panel. So we decided we'd put in 2 panels, and I have them to this day. And I checked the roof this morning, and the heat off them this morning. They were putting in water at 35 degrees this morning when it was actually raining outside. So that tells you these systems work, okay? So we very, very happy with that system. We put it in, and it was really no brainer to me, because knowing the standard of fitting we get from M&C Hybrid Energy and the way that go about the whole thing, it was a no-brainer that was going to be done right. And when you're investing money in stuff like that, that's basically what you want. You want it put in right, and you want it to work and do what it says. And every system that they've put into the house so far has done that. And I can't ask for any more as a customer, okay? So we went along anyhow after that, and there was one bill in the house that was bugging me, and that was the electricity bill. I said I'm going to hammer this electricity bill one way or the other. So we decided then I go back to M&C Hybrid Energy again, and we worked on that system. They came down to us. And part of the reason why I wanted to actually go back on that, part of the reason why I wanted to look at the electricity bill as well, is I had invested in an electric car at the time, and still have it. And my wife still drives a plug-in hybrid vehicle. So we were charging the 2 systems off the grid. Okay. So we installed the new solar panel system in. And one of the things we discovered straight away was the original cost of putting in the original system and the new system was exactly the same. But yet the efficiency of the new system was way ahead of the old system. So the systems are constantly improving, they're constantly upgrading, and the prices are dropping. And it's just like your mobile phone. A mobile phone was €1,000 at one stage, now you can buy them for 39 quid. It's the same, the technology is coming down. So it does work. So anyhow, going back to the electric car and all with it, I contacted Micheal anyhow about our electricity bill, and he decided then that they'd come up with a 12 solar panels were fitted to the house, and the excess heat that was coming off them was going back into the hot water. Okay, so now we had 2 systems heating the hot water from the roof with solar thermal and solar PV. Okay, so example now of the savings I have found anyhow, and this is on a personal basis. I drive 1,000 kilometers a week, which is a fair bit of driving. Okay, in a 2-litre diesel car, that was costing me €60 a week. So that's €240 a month to go to work, right? My electricity bill for last month, for the same mileage on that car, and also for my wife's car, and all our house needs, was €200 including VAT. Okay, so from 240 for one car, I'm now down to €200 for 2 cars and all the house. Okay, so that was a mixture now of charging from night rate electricity and PV. Okay, solar PV. So that's where we were. So the system now that I have, my wood pellet system now, is 13 years old. We still have it to this day. It needs a bit of an upgrade now because technology is moving on. So I spoke to Micheal again about that. So we're in the process of working at the moment of getting a Mitsubishi EcoDan heat pump into the house. And one of the reasons why I'm going down that road is I think it can connect all the various other technologies I have in the house into one giant bun, which hopefully will work more efficiently more cost effective. So that's where we are with my own house, and that brings us up to the present time. Now that COVID, the system should have been installed by now actually, but COVID has played havoc, as we know, with people in offices trying to get this, that and the other, and all the grants that have to be sorted out and all that kind of thing. But I'm confident that it will be done in the next month or two or whatever. Whenever it's done, I'm ready to put it in. It's as simple as that, okay? So before the heat pump went in, what was very interesting for me listening to the other speakers today, the M&C Hybrid Energy advised that it had to be before any pump could go in, for them in order for them to correctly size the pump, which is very, very important. We had to do an upgrade in the house, as in we had to do an energy audit. So they recommended Stephen Reilly to me. Stephen Reilly came out, he looked at what we had, went through all the facts and figures, and they're in the process of sizing the pump and getting all that done now. But the one thing we did do was Stephen recommended that we upgrade our insulation system. And as a homeowner, I can tell you here and now, any money you spend on insulation is good money. The difference in our house since we upgraded it, we upgraded the attic to 400 mil, I think we went up to now. All the walls were highly insulated because of it being timber frame, but we upgraded all that again. You can notice the difference in the house straight away. And even there's a little sunroom out the back there that has a little bit of a wall on it, and the windows come down to meet it. That was pumped, and for the first time ever, you can sit in that room on the coldest days now without the heat on, and it's still comfortable. So insulation works, right? And before anyone puts in a heat pump, I would strongly recommend that they insulate, and if they can afford it, insulate again before they do it, and keep insulating until you run out of money, because it is the only way to go. You've got to, if there's no point in heating air and letting it out, it doesn't make no sense. Okay, so that is the one thing. The other things I'd like to touch on now, if I may, that brings us up to date with the house. But the other things I'd like to touch on now is I've worked for 15 years now in the green energy sector. And I particularly worked in the wood chip, wood pellet, and now the willow sectors. And I'd just like to make a few observations on the industry and where it is we're going, right? As a nation, we have made progress in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, but we have a long way to go. As with any company, it's only as good as its management. So if the government is managing our country, and if they're our management, I'd like to ask a few questions here today. How many of our ministers, councillors, senators drive electric cars or plug-in hybrids? How many of our state bodies use electric vehicles, use PVs? How many of our senators or public servants use any form of biomass to heat their house, or a heat pump, or have solar panels or PV panels of any description on the roof? Is it a say of do as I say, but not as I do? I have listened to ministers. I've had ministers, agricultural ministers, environmental ministers come out to our property. I brought them out to fields of willow. And to say that they understand what they're talking about would be the greatest lie I could ever say. They are totally ignorant on what this whole industry can do, what it can do for our country, what it can do for our local economy, what it can do for towns and villages around the country who are on their knees for employment. We can all laugh at it and we can all have a great joke at it, but I guarantee you, if you sit in the car and go up and down the length of this country and go into little towns and villages, they're on their knees for employment. There's a statistic out there that £1 million worth of biomass in the local will bring in 4 million to the local economy. 1 million brings in 4 million, right? Now, you can imagine what 4 million can do to little towns like Arva, Ballina, Killashandra, and we can go on and name them all around the country, right? If you have, this is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about green energy. If you get it set up right, this country can be booming. Local people can live in local places. They can get employment in local places. They can hire the local plumber, hire the local builder, go down to the local shop. Maybe your son and daughter get a job in the local shop. This is what green energy is all about. This is the sector we need to push and shove, and the politicians have stopped talking out of the two sides of their mouth and go ahead and do it. There's an SSRH grant out at the moment to fuel biomass in this country. There's 70 boilers passed to go into that scheme, as my latest information is. Not one boiler has got a grant. What's all that about? Are we interested in doing it right, or are we interested in doing it wrong? I have seen lots of bad things going on in this, and one thing that really frustrates me is we go out to crops and we see crops, be they trees, be it willow, be it whatever. They're planted in the most stupid of places, inaccessible for trucks to go in and get them out, inaccessible to be harvested. Our state bodies have told these farmers to plant these crops, and they've put them in, they've put their money into it, and now they discover they can't harvest the crops because they're put in the wrong place. I think there's to be a sit down and a little bit of common sense and join the dots of where we go. It can be done. It's not rocket science. It can be done. Now, that's for all the bad stuff. There's a lot of good stuff going on, and I'd like just to touch on that for 1 minute and then I'll wrap up. Okay? We've had great news, I think, anyhow, for the environment is that Bournemouth are no longer taking peat out of the bogs. So I firmly believe that if you create a need for renewable energy, industry will find ways of filling the gaps, and it will come up with the ways of feeding the different sectors that emerges. For example, Bournemouth, as I say, are no longer doing peat production. So right now, there's a multi-million-pound willow briquette factory being built in Kells. Okay? This is going to create jobs. It's going to create money in the local environment, and furthermore, it'll put money in farmers' pockets, sustainable money that can come year after year after year. And that is good. Another example I'm going to give you is, I am very, very fortunate to work for a company called Agri Biofuel. It was started up by two young people in Ashbourne and County Meath, Niall and Elaine McGrath. And they've had the foresight to plant willow in 2 farms, which we now have up and running. And it's people like these that deserve a clap on the back. It's people like these that have put their money where their mouth is, put the crops in the ground, and now are harvesting them. And without those types of people, you won't have an industry. So we have worked with Niall, I'm working with Niall now on this, and because of all this going with Bournemouth and briquettes, etc., we have developed a peat-free compost, which can negotiate or get rid of the need of any peat. These are great things to see, and I really think that Ireland can be a powerhouse of renewable energy. When you think of it, lads, we have it all. We have lots of wind, we've plenty sea, and we've lots of roofs. So it's up to the industry and the government to show what we can achieve. We need to stop paying countries for our energy. We can produce it ourselves, and doing that, provide jobs in rural communities. So these are just a bit of my experiences that I've seen. And I think one simple solution I've come across over the years is there seems to be a lot of confusion with customers or potential customers of all the different types of energy that's out there and all the different types of systems. And I was thinking about this the other night, and I said to myself, would a simple solution be, would it be that simple? That you could go into, say, your major town, say Cavan Town, take Cavan Town for argument's sake. There has to be an industrial unit someplace in Cavan Town that's not being used, right? Get someone like the Enterprise Board or an IDA factory or some, I don't know who'd fund this, but something like an Enterprise Board or something like that, right? Put in all the different systems into that. Let people, potential customers, go in and see a room that's not insulated, how cold it is, a room that's properly insulated. Let them see solar PV, let them see solar thermal, let them see all the different industries and or systems. And when they're in there, they can ask all the questions they like. They can come out of it confident that they know the system that suits them. I think where I'm coming from on that is when I put my pellet boiler in here to the house, and Micheal can tell you this, I used to get phone calls from Micheal, I'm thinking putting in a boiler in such and such a place. Would there be any chance a fella could go down and see your boiler? they were building their house at the time, and you were putting in your system at the time. And I said, yeah, no problem, come down. And people just come down here and then ask more questions outside in the shed about one thing or the other. And I used to spend hours talking to them. And it was really interesting to hear their side of the thing and their fears and what they were thinking about it. So I think something like that in a town, it'd be a very good thing. But you can call it a renewable energy centre, you can call it whatever you like. But I think something like that would be a major benefit. So that's all I really have to say on the thing. I would like to, again, thank M&C Hybrid Energy for coming and asking me to be here today. And of course, I'll answer any questions I can. And that's basically it. And thanks for listening to me. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bernard.
Good man, Bernard. Thank you. That was great. Fair play to you. We're fighting this corner a long time now. So we are.
We are, and like, you know, it's what really it gets annoying about the whole thing was it's a win-win for everybody. If you get it right, all our little villages and towns, and I feel very sorry for young people that can't get work. They're straddled in. They have to get big mortgages to build houses, and they have to travel, then sit in the car and travel to Dublin for work. I think that's scandalous. It's scandalous that our nation, that's the best we can do in 2001, put a person in a car and then drive up the M50 and sit in traffic for the M50 and burn petrol or diesel while they're going up. Is that really the best we can do?
No, they can do better than that. They can do better than that. Liam Donohoe. Liam, are you there?
I'm going to unmute you, Liam. You'd like to ask a question?
Liam's gone, is he?
No, I'm here.
Oh, yeah, there. Sorry,
Here,
Liam.
Liam. Sorry.
Sorry. Thanks very much, Carmel and Bernard there. I had a question just for Aisling. I'm a BER Assessor, Aisling, and I get asked to do a lot of BERs for people where they want to get your green mortgage. All right. So up to now, I thought that the requirement for it was the B3, but in your presentation there, I saw that you actually had a range of ratings. Is there a different rate for different ratings? I didn't know that before.
Hi, Liam. How are you? Can you hear me there?
Yeah.
Yes. No, Liam. It's the same rate. It falls between an A1 and a B3. So
Okay.
there's the standard rate. There's three rates, three green mortgage rates, and they're dependent, as I said earlier, on the value of your home. So if you fall in the bracket that your mortgage is less than 50% of the value, well, then you will qualify for the 2.25. Between 50 and 80, 2.45, and then the higher one over 80. But it's irrelevant whether you come in at an A1, an A3 or a B2. The bank just wants to see a valid BER that you have fallen with, that your BER is between that rating.
Grand. It's B3 or better then. That's what I thought. Yeah. Thanks very much, Aisling. Yeah.
No bother. Thanks for the question, Liam.
Okay.
Thanks, Liam. That's great. I think we have a couple of questions here, if it's okay. I'll just have a look here. Okay, so we've got one here on heat pumps. So so I've heard people mention air to water and air source heating systems. So are there two different versions? Can I answer that?
Yeah, well, some people, yeah, an air to water heat pump. You've air to water, you've ground source. Air to water, air to air, or ground source. So people kind of call it an air source heating system. So there's a kind of a miscommunication in it. It kind of all means the same, if you understand what I'm saying. That was from who's that? Brian Kine, is it? Brian still there? No.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
No. Anyone else? Any other questions? Sorry, but
if there's any of you that would like a copy of today's webinar, by the way, if you want to send me an email at carmel@mchybridenergy.com, I will send you all the notes from today, if that's okay.
And a copy. You've recorded this, haven't you?
Yep.
Yeah. So, have any more questions out there?
There's one there. Sorry, here's another one here. Hi, Micheal. How would you recommend dealing with a cooker hood extraction?
Clement. Well, we done in our old house, we put in an ordinary cooker hood extraction with a charcoal filter into it. And the actual cooker hood extraction unit to put onto a heat recovery system is probably the same price as the heat recovery system. They're very expensive. So what we done here was we just put in a normal hood and we put in a charcoal filter into it, and it catches whatever grease or particles is in the air, and then we have the vent in the ceiling that extracts the heat out from there into our unit upstairs in the attic. So that's the way we dealt with it. You know, they can be very expensive. Like if you're talking to a salesman who's trying to sell you all this, yeah, he'd sell you everything, but there's more practical ways of doing things, and that's the way I look at stuff. Try to be practical about it, you know. What else we got there? All dwellings do not need, this is from Stephen, I don't know who's this from everyone. All dwellings do not need to be A2, they can be A3 and comply with Part L. Typically, a building dwelling built in to Part L 2019 can achieve A2 rating, but some can also achieve A3. So just a lot of the people that we're dealing with, we talk with building new homes and that, they're all, you know, it's all A2, and you know, that's why I probably talk like that, but that's the regulations. So it's A2, A3, but generally for a new build, what kind of ticks all the boxes. You have to do your airtightness. Some people come to us and they look for PV and heat pumps, and we'll do the whole plumbing work and do everything. But generally, what ticks the boxes is, like a lot of the customers would say, well, you can, you know, make provisions for your PV, leave that. It's something you can do in years to come. But to get it through the regs and get it signed off properly, a heat pump generally always ticks the boxes for that build.
That's all the questions. I think that's it. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thanks again to all our speakers for coming on board with us today, and we had a great number of attendees, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. As I say, if anyone wants more information or a recording of today's webinar, you can email me at carmel@mchybridenergy.com, and we'll be happy to provide that to you.